All right, we're going to talk about Hedera, or I'm going to talk about Hedera Hashgraph. 4 very unique things about it, meaning these are 4 things that are different than pretty much all of the other crypto, specifically layer 1 cryptos out there. So whether you own it or you're thinking of owning it, this is something you're going to want to hear because these 4 unique items are very eye-opening from the other blockchains. Like, it's not a blockchain. So let's get started. This is Crypto for the Rest of Us, 6 days a week, do tip, tool, or coin analysis. I was excited to do this video because Hedera is one of my largest holdings. I've put out videos about different features and partnerships and people that are building upon it, but I didn't do one of my coin analyses where I go into the crypto itself, the token, the company, the founders, and a price prediction, which I'll do. But most importantly, these 4 unique things, I think, like I said, are going to be very eye-opening. I was so excited. I got a new shirt and a haircut. All right, let's get started. Although, I don't think the haircut guy understood what I was saying because I actually said a little off the top. All right, now Hedera, what's interesting about it is, like I said, first and foremost, it is not a blockchain. And it's called, I said Hedera, but they refer to it as Hedera Hashgraph because it's known as a hash graph, but a specific type of hash graph, which makes it actually more secure. All right, now take a look at this and I'll just read through it. This is the unique feature, the first one, is that Hedera, it is a public ledger, but it uses a hash graph consensus algorithm. HBAR is a decentralized public network employing the hash graph consensus algorithm rather than traditional blockchain technology. So even though it's different than underlying technology of blockchain, it still falls under the broad umbrella of distributed ledger technologies. Now, it's called a hash graph, but it's called an ABFT, asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance hash graph. That variant of a hash graph means it's got higher security and performance levels. If you look in the hash graph, you'll find that there may have been some issues with it. So this particular type, the ABFT, solves all of that. Probably most people don't realize that it's not the traditional blockchain. Okay, now let's talk about the company itself. We always talk about founders. So what's very interesting about this is that the founder of Hashgraph, I think it was in 2010, and his name is Dr. Lehman Baird. I'll put his name up here. And the other founder was Mance Harmon. But Lehman Baird came up with the Hashgraph technology. He then created a company called Swirlds, S-W-I-R-L-D-S, and they held the patents. He patented the hash graph. So on the one hand, and by the way, I'm a patent attorney. I don't practice anymore, but I was, and I have a computer science background. So I'm familiar with this, obviously. Now, he could have just said, well, let's just keep all our competitors at bay. The patent lasts X number of years left on it. Well, a lot of companies have realized that open sourcing things could be a little better. So he created the hash graph, Hedera Hashgraph, and then later, and we'll talk about this, Hedera has a governing council. They decided to buy the patents from Swirlds, and they did. Then they decided to put it out to everyone with an open source license. It's licensed under the Apache license, which basically means there's a bundle of rights that go along with the license, and it's granting the permission to use it, to modify it, to distribute it, to sub-license it, basically everything you want to do with it. Users can use it for any purpose, including commercial use. Others can do this. Modify it, modify the code and create their own copyright statements for the modified software. Distribute it, any copies of the code, sub-license it, integrate the source code into even proprietary software, license, distribute modified versions of the software under different license terms and conditions. So they decided to just put this out there for everyone, realizing that the way in which they've created it, this isn't a simple thing to do. I don't think they're really worried about competition. I think this was the smart thing to do because too many people were worried about, particularly companies that you want to bring on board as users of this. There are going to be so many questions about, well, this is proprietary. What can we do? What can't we do? Et cetera, et cetera. They just squashed all that and said, it's open for the world. Go for it. Okay. That's the second unique thing about it, is that it started out patented technology and then was purchased and just given to the world, so to speak. All right. The third thing is the governing council. We're on the website here. And this is not typical, as you probably know, of a blockchain in which you think the idea is, people will say, well, Web 2.0 is centralized, where you've got a company maybe having, like, say, all the servers and people are using the servers, versus decentralized and it's all over the place and you don't have to worry about going through one center of control. So why would you have a council? Well, the council is large and they set it up in a very unique way. And I believe there's a total of, I did a whole video on this the other day, 39. And their various companies. If you want to learn more about the council, watch that video. I'll put a link below. But the council oversees things like software changes, network pricing, and other key decisions. You've got very large organizations here. I mean, you can see them. It's got Google, it's got Dell, it's got Boeing. Even though they're having some issues, Avery Dennison, you name it, all over the world. They're in Zurich, they're in Australia, they're in the US. And I think this is a brilliant idea because, as I go into detail in the other video, was like, hey, when you start a company, you got a board. You don't just want a board because they're going to help you run the company. You want it for their connections and what they can bring to the table in terms of getting you into certain companies and talking to different groups for partnerships or to have others use your technology. You've got 39 huge companies. So now you just have this ability to reach out with these tentacles into so many organizations so fast and talk to the right people. That's a hard thing to do. So this was brilliant, not just for the governance of Hedera, but for the growth of Hedera. The other thing is their unique fees, their fee structure. Now, if you look here, they have this, it changes every day, of course. Their mainnet, not testnet, mainnet accounts created over 6 million. Transactions the last 24 hours, 200,000. Seconds to consensus, 2.9. Two different things here that are interesting, but let's talk about the cost. Average cost per transaction, 0.0001. All right. So in many cases with some of these, let's talk Ethereum, right? You've got a gas fee. That gas fee can change and it costs a certain amount of money. You never know quite what those fees are going to be. But what Hedera was, they said, okay, instead of saying you owe us a certain amount of HBAR, like 1.5, because as HBAR's price changes, then that 1.5 HBAR will change. If HBAR is $1, I'm just making up a number, then 1.5 HBAR will cost you $1.50. If it goes to $10, well, now 1.5 is going to cost you $15. So it's hard to gauge when you're creating some sort of an application that's doing thousands or tens of thousands of transactions. Your costs could get out of control. So they said, we're going to peg the cost of a transaction to a dollar value. We're going to say it's 0.00001 cents. So then it's always 0.001 cent. Great. Well, how does that work? Well, it means that when you pay an HBAR, you say, well, how much HBAR do I need to pay that? So let's just say, easy math, it was 10 cents per transaction. It's not. But if it was 10 cents per transaction and HBAR was 10 cents, you give them one HBAR. If it's 10 cents a transaction because that's static and HBAR is now $1, then you're going to give them a tenth of an HBAR, 0.1. There you go. So the amount of HBAR that you're giving is changing instead of the other way around. Therefore, it allows companies to understand their transaction costs. If you're going to go into a company, you want to sell them your solution. You're saying, here, you should use Hedera to do this. It can handle all these transactions. It can do it fast. It can do it with using very little energy. And they'll say, well, okay, great. What are the costs, right? You got to convince everybody, not just the business people, but you're going to have someone in there from the finance office, if not the CFO, going, What? So you're telling me the cost can just vary and I have no idea? No, we're not doing this. This could get out of control. But with Hedera, it's like, nope, that's a fixed price. You're always going to know exactly what the cost is based on the volume of transactions. Oh, okay. That's great. Something we can control. So that is the fourth thing, which is unique fees. Now let's talk about use cases. These aren't just use cases as this is what you could do. There's many different companies in here, and you can see how they've been using it. 2 or probably 3 real popular ones, but Hashpack, this is essentially a wallet. I use their wallet, and you can interact with their dApps and that sort of thing on the Hedera network. There's a company recently that decided to do some real-world asset tokenization with diamonds. That's interesting. Great idea. So let's recap the 4 unique characteristics of Hedera Hashgraph, which I think make it very compelling. First, the fact that it's not a traditional blockchain. It's this particular type of hash graph. Second, the individual had patented it and they've put out an open license under the Apache license for the world. I think that will help it grow tremendously. Third is the governance, an extremely unique model with up to 39 companies, which can help them in a myriad of ways, not just governing the coin and crypto itself, but also what it can do in terms of growing their user base and their customer base. And the fourth unique thing is the fixed fees. The fact that it's a fixed dollar amount, and what changes is how much HBAR you're going to give them. So now you might be thinking, well, do I want to get this? Now I always have to say, because I don't think I had yet, my disclaimer is that I'm a big dumb animal, don't do what I do, informational purposes only. It's down around 5 cents at the time of filming this, October 7th, 2024. As you can see, this chart goes back, here's 22, when it had been up to around 55 cents, maybe a little, around 55 cents. Down here, a little more activity, around 44 cents. These are my lines. This is a daily chart. This blue squiggly line here, this is the 200-day. You can see it was below it until around 23. When it got above it, flirted with it, below. Then the most recent run up from the end of 23 to this midsummer 24, it was above the 200-day the whole time. For long-term investing, I like to see above a 200-day. These are my lines. They're not perfect, but you essentially have a downward channel. It looks like it's gotten out of that channel. It's doing a left to right movement, sideways chop, as they say. The on-balance volume has been moving up, which you want to see. I believe volume precedes price. I still think it's a great price. This morning I did a video on the fact that we're in October and that Bitcoin is still dominant. But once it starts to lose some of that dominance and hits new highs, then I think money will start rolling over into the altcoins. I think that's genuinely the belief of most crypto investors, that that's how this is going to play out into 25. So I'm a big believer in Hedera. Where do I think it's going to go? Well, why did I buy into it? Well, I'd love to see it hit in the short term up around 10 cents, which is up around here, hopefully by the end of the year. And then, but who knows? It all depends on liquidity in the markets and the election and all kinds of things that are going on. But where do I see it going? Well, I see it hitting back up here around 30 cents or so. I don't think 50 cents is out of the equation. I would love to see $1 to $1.50. But at 5 cents, it gets to 50 cents and you're already at a 10x. I don't think this is out of the question. And I think Hedera Hashgraph is just getting started, but it has made great inroads and it's very unique. I consider Hedera Hashgraph to be a diversification within layer ones. What do I mean by that? It's those 4 unique things, particularly the fact that they are not a blockchain. They are a distributed ledger technology, but they're not a blockchain. So within all the layer ones, here's one that in my opinion, I've diversified because the other ones don't have this type of solution. So when you're going out to get customers and you've got a fixed price, and what we didn't get into was the fact that it's got such a low energy consumption, it makes it a very unique solution to what some of these customers might need. If you're a layer 1 and you're talking to a customer that other layer 1s are talking to, you're going to basically say, we're just like them. But maybe we're a little more secure, or maybe we're a little faster, or maybe we're less likely to have downtime. But you're basically saying we're like them, we're just slightly better at certain of these features. And then Hedera comes in to give their proposal to the company, and they say, we're nothing like them. They're a blockchain. We're a hash graph. Here's how that works. And here are the benefits you get from it. Wow. That is a very unique proposition. Hedera Hashgraph has a unique proposition that no other layer 1 has. And it's these 4 unique features that I think makes them stand out among all the layer 1s. And if you're investing in layer 1s like I am, in my opinion, you gotta have Hedera because it helps diversify. So that's it for the video. I hope this was helpful. Let's all make generational wealth together with crypto. Have a great day.